Midnight, 1943. Two warships slam together in the freezing blackness. 49 German submariners on U-405 and a crew of young Americans aboard the USS Bory, pistols and rifles blazing at point-blank range over crashing waves. This is the story behind the sinking of U-405, a violent clash beneath the Atlantic waves. How did a German U-boat and an American destroyer escort end up locked in a barroom brawl on the ocean's surface, trading gunfire and desperation within arm's reach? In a campaign meant to save Britain from starvation, the fate of every Allied convoy now hung on these life-or-death engagements. What drove these ships and their crews into such savage combat that night? Across the Atlantic, the war at sea has become a relentless hunt. By 1943, Allied command no longer waits for U-boats to strike convoys. Instead, they send out hunter-killer groups, task forces built around small escort carriers like USS Card, each one prowling the open ocean with destroyers and destroyer escorts in tow. Their orders are clear: seek out and destroy German submarines before they can cut the supply lines to Britain. The campaign is 6 years old, and every crossing still means ISK. Admiral Dönitz's wolf packs lurk beneath the waves, aiming to starve the United Kingdom into submission, but the Allies now fight back with new tools. Radar and sonar, what sailors call ASDIC, let ships like the USS Bory find threats through fog, darkness, and storm. Aircraft from the Card sweep wide arcs overhead, spotting periscopes and oil slicks that betray hidden U-boats. The hunter-killer group's mission is offensive, not defensive. They range far from the convoys, pressing the attack in the mid-Atlantic, where the ocean is deepest and the weather most savage. Destroyer escorts like Bory are smaller and lighter than fleet destroyers, but they're fast, maneuverable, and bristling with depth charges and quick-firing guns. Each patrol is a calculated gamble. Every contact with a U-boat could turn into a chase, an ambush, or a fight to the finish. It's in these waters, under these orders, that USS Bory sets out in late October 1943. The next encounter will test every tactic, every innovation, and the nerve of every sailor aboard. Down in Bory's mess decks, most faces are barely out of high school. The average age is 19. They sleep in shifts, squeezed between torpedo racks and steam pipes, swapping stories about home and the next port. Their ship is smaller and lighter than the destroyers they idolize. Thin steel, no armor, and guns that shake the whole hull with every shot. But what they lack in firepower, they make up for in nerve. Lieutenant Charles Hutchins, just 30, stands at the center of it all. He drills his crew relentlessly, running battle stations until every man knows the sound of his own heartbeat in the dark. Hutchins is known for quick decisions and a willingness to take risks, traits that will matter once the fighting starts. Across the Black Water, the men of U-405 move with practiced precision. Kapitän Leutnant Rolf Heinrich Hauptmann leads a crew hardened by months at sea. Their submarine, a type Wieck, carries the weight of the Reich's hopes for strangling Britain's supply lines. Orders from Berlin are simple: attack, disrupt, survive. But by late 1943, every patrol feels like a gamble. The men know the odds. Still, they keep their routines, checking valves, cleaning pistols, listening for distant propellers. Hauptmann's resolve runs deep. He's seen friends lost to depth charges and knows what waits if they fail. On both ships, fear and excitement mingle. For the Americans, every radar contact is a test of courage. For the Germans, every hour on the surface is a risk. Tonight, two crews, one young and eager, the other seasoned and wary, are about to meet in the heart of the Atlantic. Each man carries his own reasons, but all are bound by duty and the hope of seeing another dawn. Sheets of rain hammer the Boreas deck as midnight ticks past. On the bridge, a radar operator leans into the glow of his screen, then calls out a contact. Lieutenant Hutchins, calm and precise, snaps orders. The crew scrambles to battle stations, boots thudding on steel, adrenaline cutting through fatigue. Out in the black Atlantic, the radar paints a single, stubborn blip. A submarine, surfaced and running. Bore pivots hard, engines roaring, bow slicing through 15-foot swells. Hutchins watches the radar, then switches to sonar as the target dives. The storm lashes the ship, spray and wind battering the electronics. For a moment, the screens flicker, then steady. The contact holds. Hutchins orders a depth charge run. In the stern, sailors brace as the racks are armed. But just as the attack begins, a jolt runs through the ship. A malfunction triggers both stern tracks at once. Every depth charge drops in a single thunderous salvo. Explosions pound the water below. The shock lifts Boreas stern clear out of the sea, slamming men against bulkheads. Below, the pressure wave rips through the darkness. U-405 has no warning. The blast hammers the hull, shattering silence and forcing the submarine upward. On Boreas bridge, Hutchins steadies himself, eyes fixed on the black water, waiting for what the storm and the malfunction have set in motion. A sharp glare slices the rain as Boreas searchlight snaps on, pinning U-405 in its beam. German sailors scramble from the hatches, racing to man the 88mm deck gun and twin 20mm flak mounts. The first shells shriek past Boreas bridge, gouging metal and shattering glass. Hutchins, eyes locked on the enemy, gives a single command: fire at will. Boreas 20mm and 40mm cannons roar to life. Tracer rounds carve orange arcs across the waves, punching into the U-boat's conning tower and scattering the German crew. The two ships are now so close that every shot finds its mark. Spent casings rattle across Boreas deck as sailors reload and fire again, sweat and seawater mixing on their faces. Spray and smoke blur the distance. Both captains know this is no ordinary duel. At this range, a single shell can decide the fight. U-405's gunners get off another volley, but the angle is tight, and Boreas guns hammer back relentlessly. Hutchins glances at the sea, then at the narrowing gap. He knows conning tower hits won't end it. The risk is enormous, but the moment is now. "Stand by for a ram," he shouts. Engines surge, the bow lifts on a wave, and Boreas barrels forward at 27 knots. Steel shrieks as the destroyer's bow crashes atop the U-boat's deck, grinding to a halt. For a heartbeat, both vessels are locked, American hull pinning German steel, guns still blazing in the storm. The Atlantic explodes with noise and chaos as the crews prepare for a fight at arm's length. Pistols crack in the darkness as sailors on both decks fire at shapes barely 10 feet away. Boreas crew, soaked and shaking, squeeze off shots with Colt 45s and M1 carbines, ducking behind twisted rails. Across the buckled steel, German sailors return fire with submachine guns and flare pistols, their faces ghostly in the searchlight glare. When magazines run dry, hands grab for anything: a wrench, a coffee mug, a loose shell casing. Someone hurls a knife. Another swings a fire axe. For 10 minutes, the two ships are fused by steel and fury, every shout and gunshot echoing above the roar of the Atlantic. Amid the chaos, a German sailor waves his arms in surrender, but confusion reigns. He's cut down before the order to cease fire can reach the deck. The line between enemy and survivor blurs in the storm. Every second, a gamble with death. At 2 a.m., U-405 slips beneath the surface, her lights flickering out as icy water pours through shattered hull plates. Every man aboard is lost. 49 German sailors vanish into the black Atlantic. The silence that follows is broken only by the groans of Bori's own hull. Steel seams have split wide from bow to stern. Salt water floods the engine room, hissing against hot machinery. On the bridge, Hutchins surveys the battered decks, the twisted rails, the buckled plates where his ship rode up on the submarine's back. The enemy is gone, but victory comes at a price. Below, the crew fights to keep pumps running, but the Atlantic presses in through every fracture. Bori has survived the fight, but the ocean is not finished with her yet. On November 1, 1943, U-405 and her entire crew of 49 were lost beneath the Atlantic after a 10-minute surface battle with USS Bori, which suffered 27 fatalities and was scuttled the next day. Wartime records confirm this was one of the only World War II naval battles fought hand-to-hand at sea, with pistols and improvised weapons used after both ships became locked together in heavy seas. Despite decades of research, the precise details of U-405's final moments and the fate of several missing Bori crewmen remain uncertain, as some action reports and German logs were lost or remain classified. The Presidential Unit Citation awarded to Bori's crew stands as official recognition of their valor. Today, the battle is studied in naval academies as a rare example of close-quarters combat between warships in the modern era. The events of that night demonstrate how quickly technology and tactics could give way to raw survival, leaving a permanent mark on the history of the Battle of the Atlantic.